A series of explosions rocked Crimea with such force that the shockwave was felt kilometers away. Footage of burning structures is spreading online, and eyewitnesses report the detonation of ammunition and the destruction of a ship that exploded nearby. They say it was a carefully planned strike that came as a complete surprise. Events are unfolding rapidly, the tension around the situation's only growing, so we'll watch the footage in just a moment. Greetings, viewers! Subscribe, leave your likes and comments on our YouTube platform, ptv.ua. And now, let's get started. The Defense Forces struck a BK-16 landing craft, an RSP-10 radar station, a communications hub, and a Russian ammunition depot in Crimea. The successes of the Ukrainian military were shared by the General Staff of the Armed Forces of Ukraine. The report states that it has been confirmed that in the area of the settlement of Novozernin in the temporarily occupied territories of Ukrainian Crimea, a Russian BK-16 landing craft was successfully hit. In addition, in the area of the settlement of Havardiske in temporarily occupied Crimea, an RSP-10 radar station was hit. Among other things, in the area of the settlement of Primorsk, in the temporarily occupied part of Zaporizhia region, a communications hub of the Russian occupiers was also hit on the same day. And also, according to the General Staff, in the area of Novoeconomic in the temporarily occupied territory of Donetsk region, an enemy ammunition depot was hit there. The losses of the enemy and the scale of the inflicted damage are being clarified, the General Staff of the Armed Forces of Ukraine noted. It is worth noting that these strikes on Crimea and other occupied territories are primarily of strategic and symbolic significance, as they indicate a systematic weakening of the Russian military presence in the enemy's rear areas and demonstrate the ability of Ukraine's defense forces to operate far beyond the front line. The destruction of the BK-16 landing craft in the area of Novozern means a reduction in the Russians' capabilities for maritime transfers, patrolling, and sabotage operations in the coastal zone of Crimea, which directly affects the security of the Black Sea region. The destruction of the RSP-10 radar station in Havardiske undermines the airspace control and navigation system, complicates the operation of Russian aviation and air defense, and makes the occupied territory more vulnerable to further strikes. The strike on the communications hub in Primorsk deprives the occupiers of stable coordination between units, which reduces the effectiveness of troop command and the speed of decision-making. And also, the destruction of the ammunition depot in Novoeconomic directly affects the enemy's combat capabilities, as it disrupts supply logistics and forces Russian troops to spend resources on replenishing their stockpiles. Taken together, these strikes show that Crimea is no longer a safe rear area for Russia, and that Ukrainian forces are deliberately destroying key elements of military infrastructure, creating the conditions for further liberation of the occupied territories. And, of course, increasing psychological pressure on the enemy, as the General Staff of the Armed Forces of Ukraine regularly reports.